Day 29 stands before us not as a number, but as a witness. It is a witness of time spent, prayers uttered, tears shed, seeds sown, battles fought, lessons learned, and mercies received. Many people rush past days without discerning their weight. But wisdom teaches us that every season speaks and every passing moment carries a message. The last month has not merely been a collection of days. It has been a divine conversation between heaven and earth. Some heard it clearly, others faintly, and some may not yet realize that God has been speaking all along. There are miracles we recognize and blessings we celebrate, but there are also quiet interventions that only eternity will fully reveal. Some of you are alive today, not because the enemy was weak, but because mercy was loud. Some of you survived storms you did not have the language to pray against. Yet grace stepped in and rewrote outcomes. The miracle was not only that you received what you asked for, the miracle was that you were preserved from what you never saw coming. When God works, he does not always announce himself with thunder. Sometimes he hides his power inside ordinary days. Over the past month, destinies have been adjusted subtly. Doors that did not open were not always rejections. Many were divine delays orchestrated to protect alignment. You may have wondered why effort did not immediately translate into results, but understand this: timing is not a punishment, it is a protocol. God is not slow and he is not careless. When he withholds temporarily, it is often because what you are asking for requires a version of you that is still under construction. Some blessings came disguised as resistance. Some miracles came wearing the clothes of discipline. You prayed for growth and God answered with stretching. You prayed for elevation and he responded with pruning. Many people want the harvest but resist the process that qualifies them to manage abundance. Yet in the last month, God has been patient enough to work on foundations rather than rush results. That itself is a miracle. There are testimonies that are loud, and there are testimonies that are still forming. Do not despise unfinished miracles. The fact that something has started is proof that heaven has endorsed it. A seed does not look like a tree, yet it carries the full potential of one. What God initiated in your life this month may not yet be visible to others, but visibility is not the measure of value. Heaven celebrates beginnings even when earth cannot yet applaud them. Some of you experienced restoration without realizing it. Peace returned quietly. Strength resurfaced gradually. Faith that once felt fragile began to steady itself again. These are not small things. In a world that drains hope daily, the ability to rise again, to pray again, to believe again is a miracle of the highest order. Many miracles are internal before they ever become external. There were blessings in relationships too. Some connections were healed, others were revealed, and some were removed. Not every departure is a loss. Some exits are answers to prayers you prayed in tears. God does not only bless by adding, sometimes he blesses by subtracting. The last month has taught many that alignment is more important than attachment, and peace is more valuable than popularity. Provision came in ways you did not predict. Sometimes it was financial, sometimes it was strength to endure scarcity without breaking. Sometimes it was wisdom to manage what you already had. Do not underestimate the miracle of contentment or the blessing of clarity in times of confusion. When God supplies vision, he is already supplying direction, and direction is a form of provision. There were moments you almost gave up, moments where silence felt heavy and prayers felt unanswered. Yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still believing at some level. That endurance did not come from willpower alone. Grace carried you when motivation failed. Angels were at work when you were asleep. Hands unseen were fighting battles your mind could not process. The miracle is not only what changed around you, but what did not destroy you within. The last month has also exposed priorities. It revealed where trust truly lies and where dependency had become unhealthy. Exposure is uncomfortable, but it is merciful. God reveals not to shame, but to heal. When light enters a dark room, it is not there to argue with the darkness, it is there to replace it. Awareness is the beginning of transformation, and transformation is a miracle in motion. Some of you learn to wait, others learn to move. Both are blessings when directed by God. Waiting taught patience, humility, and trust. Movement taught courage, obedience, and faith. The tragedy is not moving slowly or quickly. The tragedy is moving without discernment. This month refined many people's ability to hear and respond accurately. And discernment is a gift many pray for, but few develop. There were moments of joy too, moments of laughter, moments when gratitude overflowed without effort. These are holy moments. Joy is not a distraction from spirituality, it is evidence of it. The ability to rejoice even after battles is proof that hope is still alive. Do not dismiss joy as insignificant. It is strength in emotional form. As this month draws to a close, understand that endings are often doors in disguise. God does not waste seasons. What feels like closure may be preparation. What feels like completion may be commissioning. The miracles and blessings of the last month are not meant to terminate in celebration alone. They are meant to empower expectation for what comes next. Carry gratitude forward. Gratitude preserves miracles. Carry lessons forward. Lessons protect blessings. Carry faith forward. Faith attracts greater dimensions of grace. Do not enter the next season empty of reflection, because reflection turns experiences into wisdom. In conclusion, day 29 is not just a checkpoint. It is a testimony that God is present, intentional, and faithful. The miracles you saw, the blessings you felt, and the strength you gained are all reminders that heaven has not forgotten you. As you step into what lies ahead, do so with confidence, humility, and expectation, knowing that the same God who sustained you through the last month is already waiting for you in the next one, ready to exceed what you thought was possible. All right, I'll continue seamlessly in the same prophetic, reflective flow, no headings, no name mention, and maintaining the same spiritual depth and tone. This continuation expands the message naturally and moves toward a fresh concluding paragraph at the end. As the days unfolded throughout the last month, many discovered that God was less interested in impressing them and more invested in transforming them. Transformation is rarely dramatic. It is usually quiet, deliberate, and deeply personal. While some were praying for visible signs, God was dealing with invisible roots. He was addressing patterns, mindsets, and inner conversations that had quietly shaped outcomes for years. A healed mindset is a miracle that sustains every other miracle. There were prayers you prayed repeatedly, not because God did not hear, but because persistence was PR, producing endurance in you. Heaven is never threatened by repetition when it is fueled by faith. Sometimes God allows a prayer to linger because the waiting season is doing something the answer alone cannot do. It is teaching you to trust God's nature, not just his intervention. Faith that survives silence becomes unshakable when manifestation arrives. In this past month, many were taught the difference between desire and readiness. Desire asks for more, but readiness prepares for responsibility. God is generous, but he is also wise. He will not place weight on a structure that has not yet been reinforced. When he delays certain blessings, it is not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. Strengthening your capacity is one of the greatest blessings you can receive, even though it often comes wrapped in discomfort. Some people discover that miracles are not always about addition. Sometimes they are about alignment. When things fall into place effortlessly, it is often because alignment has been restored. The right people began to speak at the right time. The right information surfaced when it was needed most. These were not coincidences. There were evidences of divine orchestration working behind the scenes. There were moments when fear tried to speak louder than faith. Fear reminded you of past disappointments, unfinished stories, and unanswered questions. But faith responded quietly, insisting that history does not have the final word. The fact that you kept moving, even slowly, even uncertainly, is proof that faith was still alive. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is obedience in spite of it. Some of the greatest miracles of the last month came through obedience to simple instructions. A phone call you almost didn't make. A prayer you felt too tired to pray. A step you took without full clarity. God often hides breakthrough inside ordinary obedience. Many are waiting for dramatic encounters. That consistency is the language God frequently uses to unlock extraordinary results. You may not have received everything you hoped for, but you received what you needed to survive, mature, and advance. Needs met are often overlooked in the pursuit of wants, yet survival itself is a testimony. There are people who started the month with you but could not finish it. The fact that you are here, still hopeful, still breathing, still expecting, is evidence that God's hand has been sustaining you. This month also exposed the power of gratitude. Some people learn that gratitude shifts perspective faster than complaint ever could. When you acknowledge what God has done, even when it seems small, you create room for greater manifestations. Gratitude is not denial of pain. It is recognition of grace in the midst of it. There were lessons in humility as well. Success did not inflate you, and challenges did not destroy you. Humility kept you teachable, and teachability kept you growing. God resists pride not because he dislikes confidence, but because pride blinds people to their need for him. The ability to remain dependent on God even when things improve is a sign of spiritual maturity. As the end of the month approached, reflection became unavoidable. Reflection is sacred when it is honest. It allows you to see patterns, progress, and purpose. It reminds you that you are not who you used to be, even if you are not yet who you want to become. Growth often happens so gradually that you only recognize it when you pause long enough to look back. Some battles were not won by force, but by surrender. You stop trying to control outcomes and learn to trust divine wisdom. Surrender is not weakness, it is alignment. When you release control, you make room for grace to operate freely. Many found peace not because circumstances hanged, but because their hearts did. This last month also revealed the importance of spiritual consistency. The days you showed up tired still mattered. The prayers you whispered still counted. Heaven records faithfulness even when performance feels imperfect. God does not measure effort the way humans do. He looks at the heart's posture, not just visible results. There were divine protections you will never fully know about. Accidents that did not happen. Decisions you were restrained from making. Delays that saved you from regret. These unseen mercies are part of the miracles of the month. God's protection is often silent, but it is never absent As you prepare to step beyond this month, understand that seasons are connected. What you learned here will be required there. What you endured here prepared you for what lies ahead. God does not recycle seasons. He builds progressively. Nothing was wasted and nothing was accidental. In conclusion, the miracles and blessings of the last month are not just memories to cherish, but foundations to stand on. They remind you that God is active in both visible and invisible ways, shaping your journey with wisdom and care. As you move forward, carry faith without fear, gratitude without forgetfulness, and hope without hesitation, knowing that the same grace that sustained you through the last month will guide you into the next with even greater purpose and power. In conclusion, as this month comes to its appointed end, let your heart remain anchored in gratitude and expectation. What God has done is not the end of the story, but the evidence that He is actively involved in your journey. The miracles you recognized, the blessings you received, and even the battles you survived all testify that grace has been at work beyond your understanding. Step forward without fear, carrying the wisdom of this season and the faith it has produced, confident that the God who sustained you through the last month is already preparing greater manifestations ahead. What lies before you will not contradict what you have seen behind you, for the same hand that preserved you is the hand that will perfect all that concerns you.